Good evening, everyone. It is June 6, 2023. Now, before we get into the ES and NQ, I have pulled up a chart here of the Russell. Now, the reason being is that these small caps look like they're finally catching up to tech, to the ES, to the Nasdaq. We have broken out of the range we've been stuck in since about March here, from March to whatever, a few days ago. This is equivalent to the ES breaking out of that 4208 half area. Now, I'd be surprised if we just rocket upwards. It looks like it wouldn't be too surprising to get some sort of consolidation like we've had on the ES, how that took quite a while. Uh, what I'm watching are just, I drew a few momentum lines, get an idea as to where we are, and also the halfback of the 2023 range for the year to date. That's where we hit. That's what I was watching intraday. We tagged that number, sold off a little bit, diddled around, sold off again, and we end up closing pretty much right around there. And right now, during external trading hours, that's where we're holding around. So that is the number I'm interested in, 1860. And then I have a number of alerts here just to get an idea of momentum once again. Below that low of the day, below here, sort of back into this balance, and then looking to the upside if we can start getting into this area of supply around 1880 or start getting above what looks like to be some sort of level around 1900. So that's what I'm looking at overall. I'm paying attention to where these small caps are, and we can get an idea of what the overall market is looking at. Now let's get into the ES. What I was saying was that I wanted to see a move downwards this week into the 4220s area. We managed to salvage the lows today. Sellers were trying, but not really getting anywhere after breaking yesterday's low of the day. We end up ramping upwards to the overnight high and then up again to the weekly open. Last week's yesterday's VWAP close, last week's 95% value area high, all that sort of crap. And we failed there numerous times, eventually closed up there. The liquidations that we tried to have didn't really end up getting anywhere. So overall, the ES is just looking quite bid. Usually, you would see some sort of reversion to last week's VWAP close, or at least a little bit of a move downwards here. And maybe we get it during Globex, but so far, not really looking like it. So far, it's looking like we're actually going to get a gap up scenario. So because of that, because we're trading in this 42.74 to 03 area, these levels I've had for a while, I think we're going to end up trading up at that August swing high around 43.27 half. Let me just pull that up for you guys right over there. That was also, I believe, where we had some selling. Yeah, right there from April 22nd of that last year. So what I'm looking for is, can we defend this area, which was our key resistance today, can we turn that into support, and can we get ramping to that 43.27 area? I'm not going to be interested in taking 03 short. I think that is a potential setup, but I think it would be smarter to hold off, let this thing ramp upwards, and then get short at 43.27. Let it hit something like the third standard deviation of last week's VWAP at 34. Let it hit that 34 number, come back below, then take that 27 short with a stop loss somewhere above there. To the downside, if we gap up, I want to be long at today's close at 42.89 after a run of these overnight lows. And below here, if we flush today's low of the day, I want to be long once again around 73 with a stop loss somewhere below today's low of the day, down to about 63. I don't want to take it lower than that, especially if the range has already been 25 points on the day. That could likely be low of the day, and we just end up reverting back upwards. This could be another 41.15 scenario, if you know what I'm saying. Below there, interest in taking 61s long after a tag of that auction point of control. Nothing really changing. Interest in taking the gap close long, 42.23 half, that last week's VWAP close, and 04 half where that auction is. So that's what I'm looking at on the ES. Now, moving on to the Nasdaq. This thing was not really cooperating today. The Nasdaq flushed yesterday's low day really hard. We tried to ramp up to the open, failed that again, failed to hold the previous day's low, eventually popped the open. It was a really grindy move up to the overnight high, liquidated again down to yesterday's low day, held it, ramped again, liquidated again. So this thing, it's interesting that despite the small caps finally joining the rally, Nasdaq is having a tough time here. It's like these guys. It's like it seems like you're getting some sort of rotation here, where a rotation of money, where instead of just the tech getting pumped, you're getting some actual rotation into value names. So that's what I'm looking at. And yeah, sure, I got some momentum lines here, whatever. Looks like we're finally failing that. Looks like we've got a little bit of a trend down occurring. So I'm looking for the Russell to continue pushing upwards. Looking for the Nasdaq, like I said yesterday for the weekly outlook. I'm looking for that to break last week's low and get a move downwards going. So likewise, not really too ambitious on the bid here. I should delete that. Uh, these are actually wrong. Let me just quickly copy and paste these over. I'm looking to mostly play this thing short here. Here we go. If we manage to run yesterday's high, I want to be short 14.5. If we do not manage to run yesterday's high, I want to be short 04s with a stop above today's high of the day, this Tuesday high. So if we run it, I'm short 14s. If we don't run it, I'm short 04s with a stop at 23s. Above there, I want to be short 676 quarter, that being where we developed the volume here. That's after a run of this high of the day. So if we run it, can't get into the rest of this gap, I want to be short 676 with a stop up above here. That's all I'm really looking at. Down below, nothing really changing. I want to be long 434 quarter after a tag of 28. So after a tag last week's VWAP close, 394 is that being the daily VWAP close from Thursday. Long 353 is that auction, and then long again 298 is that auction. So nothing really changing. So being a little bit more aggressive on the short side on the Nasdaq, as it's just not showing cooperation with the rest of these names, and then being a little bit more hesitant on the short side on the ES, and mostly just looking to play longs. Sorry for the longer video. Hope that makes sense. Hope that helps, and I'm sure we should get some adjustments to this pre-market by the open. So that will be posted to Twitter. Have a great night and trade safe.